The Gridiron is sponsored by Rothman Orthopedic.
Welcome to this week's edition of The Gridiron. I'm your host, John Brown, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker. Springford went on the road and defeated the Boyertown Bears 49-13 to improve their record up to 2-0 on the season. Coach, congratulations on the effort on Friday night. Close early and then got some really kind of late scores before the half to kind of open things up to 35-0 out there. We talked about last week's show, your preparation. How did you feel about the kids going into the game?
We had a better week of practice going into the game. I was, we had a turnover on our first drive, inside their 5-yard line, essentially. And then we got it back and scored. But they take a lot of time off the clock with the way they run their offense. And so next thing you look up and first quarter's over. So we were able to tack some points on real quickly. We had a special teams, a huge play on special teams, block punt. And, we got some short fields. We used our timeouts to force them to make some decisions and, got a running clock by halftime or after halftime. And then I kind of was really disappointed after the halftime. I saw it coming. We didn't have locker room facilities there. So we were in the end zone. There's music playing that, some of the kids were
lost focus.
They lost a little focus at halftime. And as a coach, you can kind of see it coming. Like, kids have a hard time turning it on and off. Mm-hmm. There's very few kids that have the ability to do that. That's something I think that football helps, in your life to turn things on and off. But they came out in the second half and had a couple nice big plays where we, lost focus, and they scored. And then the second drive, I was even more disappointed. They went down and kind of, put it down our throats a little bit. And that doesn't sit well. Like, we can't have lulls like that.
Yeah.
Our defense, as well as they played in the first half, the third quarter was not good. So we went from there and we scored 2 late touchdowns. But, overall, you take that third quarter out, which you can't, and that's what you got to explain to kids. We can't take third quarters out. You can't do that. That exists. So, but overall, I think we got better, which is always the goal. And there were some really bright spots that we can talk about.
All right, so let's talk about here once again. I'm the host here. I'm not a football guy, not in the rooms, that sort of thing. So obviously, you're seeing teams they're seeing what you're putting on film. They're saying, all right, Springford's running the ball here. They're going to try and do it. At some point here, you got to, on your end, you got to be like, okay, how can we counteract what the other teams are going to do defensively? To try and take away things. And we talked a little bit last week with the quarterback reading plays a little bit.
Yeah,
where do you see that assessment? Where are you moving on from there?
Ryan did a much better job on Friday night. We got on his case a little bit during the week, not only in last week's film, but then also kind of during the week. I said after week 1, some of these guys are kind of feeling themselves a little bit and thinking that, they're a little ahead of where they actually are.
Can do no wrong, the kind of night that field,
so we had to pull back on that a little bit. For Ryan, I think that worked. I think he did take a step. He completed some nice balls. He did, read the defense a little bit better, not only in the run game, but also in the passing game. And so he did a better job. I forget his actual statistics, but he threw an RPO for a touchdown late to Joe Brogan. And so.
Yeah, and he's really kind of got to be your focus. And, really, we talked about getting better every week, but he's really got to be that guy. You got to see those incremental changes every single week out of him, start to or whatever. But now you're going to put something else on his plate, I'm sure, too, right?
And we have for this week's game plan. So, Ryan is, Ryan is not the tallest guy. He's not the fastest guy. He's not the strongest guy. And we don't need him to win games for us. We need him to manage games for us. And that's fine.
Yeah.
And, get the ball to guys that, can, make plays for us. And, that's what we need him to continue to do, is play within himself.
All right, Coach. Well, good stuff right there. How about we take a look at some of the offensive highlights from Springford, Boyertown?
Gridiron highlights are sponsored by Heaps Landscaping.
Okay, so offensive highlights here. This is a touchdown run by, actually it's a pass. That's a cheap way to get a passing touchdown.
Gotcha, a little shovel pass action
yeah,
right there.
So great job. Really good blocking here on the outside. We have a pin pull. I think it's Kyle Kennedy and Ryan Beppel getting out in front. We actually double team there with the receivers, and Harry Adiefe did a good job blocking, which is nice to see. This is a touchdown at the end of the game. Obviously, I didn't put this in the right order, but this is a RPO pass to Joe Brogan. The linebacker that we're reading, you'll see in the end zone copy, he did a really good job of getting in the throwing lane, but watch what Ryan does. He double pumps it. And
a little sidearm maybe action to a little bit.
Yeah, great job. And I love seeing Ryan run down the field, all excited about that as well. This was last play of the game. They called timeout with about 1:20 to go, 4th and 20. We were just going to let the clock run down and then punt, and there would have been maybe 10 seconds left. So we just decided to go for it here. And Kyle Keckler put it on the money to Peyton West. Peyton West is a kid that at wide receiver that we really like, and we need him to step up his game and try to get in the mix. He has a lot of ability. This is the first touchdown of the game. This is Harry Adiefe. Plays designed to go outside, but you see they contained pretty well. They just ran up the field, so he cut it back and got inside for the touchdown. And this is a really good job. This is second touchdown, Andrew Yoon, who's back now, and we're excited about that. He's going to be on the field a lot more this week than he was last week. And big hole opened up there by the offensive line. And this is right before the half. Nick Teets, kind of in Wildcat or Wild Ram, if you want to call it that, and runs a trap for a touchdown. We had just called timeout. And they went for it on 4th down to punt. They were in punting formation, but went for it. And so they didn't get it. We stopped them. So that's the first play after that. And, Nick ran for a touchdown.
Yeah, you guys, I feel like one of your staples of this thing is sometimes when you get those turnovers, you're looking for big plays as an offense, as a staff, that sort of thing. Interceptions in the past, fumble recoveries, whatever. You're trying to get that quick turn, change of momentum for you too.
Yeah, and so I actually kind of predicted that on the sideline. We called timeout. The clock was running out in the first half, and we called timeout. And I said to the coaches on the headset, I said they were like maybe on the 40-ish, their own 40, and I said, watch them try to go for it here to, we weren't going to, I don't know how we were going to do it necessarily because we didn't get that far, but we stopped him on the fake punt, and we just spread everybody out and ran Nick up the middle, so he did the rest.
All right, Coach, good stuff right there. Commercial break, we still got to talk defense, all right?
Okay.
All right, we take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back with the defensive highlights from Springford, Boyertown. Welcome back to the Gridiron. I'm your host, John Brennan, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker. All right, Coach, second segment here. We usually talk defense, but before that, announcement times. Usually got some things going on. What do you got for announcements?
Well, just to make sure, this game was normally scheduled for Saturday and was scheduled to be homecoming, but it's moved to Friday night. One of the things, obviously in the current environment, we're not going to have homecoming parade and all these celebrations. So it's actually senior night for our kids. And so that's one of the things, and that's Friday night, and it will be broadcasted on RCTV. So
RCTV, nobody's working harder than RCTV around here. Right now. I think everything's on TV right now.
Yeah, and I think they did 16 contests in the past 8 days.
Yeah.
So
we got to find a way to get out the
and that's
the golf
not a
match
department.
Too, you know
that's
what I mean,
not
right?
That's not a department of that's not CBS's department.
I think the staff is. There's not a ton of them. Yeah.
So the other thing, and I just want to mention this and thank not only the Springford community, but the extended Springford community. We did our telethon, and it just kind of wound up. Is it winded up?
Wound down?
Wound down yesterday.
Okay.
Finished up.
Okay.
Yesterday, and we collected $33,000 in donations. So all of that money goes directly to kids, and there was over 600 and I want to say 650 donations. So thank you to neighbors and grandparents and uncles and aunts and all the people that support our football team. That will go directly, to, like I said, to the players in terms of food, gear, you name it. But that is their money. The Touchdown Club is not involved with that in any way. And you know, I also want to thank my wife for running that telethon. So
Yeah.
she does it without getting paid. We had the greatest deal in the country. And you know, Fan Pledge has been really good to us. So $33,000 is a new record. So
Congratulations
thank you.
and all the, sure, a lot of, like you said, time planning, all that stuff.
And that sounds like, and it is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But you know, running a football program the way you want to run it costs a lot of money, and that doesn't include the money that we raise from advertising and sponsorships. You see Heaps Landscaping and Rothman and you know, other organizations like Lakeview Cafe, that's the Red Zone sponsor. All these local companies, and it's a tough environment right now.
Sure.
Sponsor the Touchdown Club and Springport football, and those are two separate things. So thank you to all those.
All right, Coach. Good stuff there. So let's get back to the defense. Like you said, 3/4 of the game really good, and I guess maybe before we talk defense, just talk about this environment, you know, also too. Like you're getting off the bus, you're fully dressed, you know, like you're in pads, you're ready to go. You get off the bus, it's right in the warm up. It's adversity. At some point here, we're gonna have to deal with it and you know, go for it. So just talk about the whole dynamic of how before the game, halftime change. You talked a little bit about. It's almost like that you're playing 7th grade football and you just go to the end zone for halftime.
Yeah, it's actually kind of worse in some ways because in a typical year, JV, you'd have access to regular restrooms and stuff. And you know, the Pac tried to standardize some of the procedures, and I think they did a good job of that. But you know, we have some facilities where we could send kids in 25 at a time. When we played PV, both teams had access to locker room facilities, restroom facilities inside, 25 at a time, you know, or it was actually less most of the time to get taped and things like that. So everything was, at Boyertown was not like that. Their setup is not the same. And so we were, you know, set up shop in the end zone. They were accommodating. Like I requested some tables so the coaches could have, like, lay some things out and not have to throw it on the ground. And, but we had 2 porta potties that
served for your purposes for the game.
Yes, and you know, that's not always the most. Here's what I will say, and again, this isn't about just Boyertown or whatever, but some of these things we always say are, you know, I don't understand what the difference is between going in a clean restroom where you can use actual sink water. You know, they had an outside thing that, you know, available. It just, let's just say it didn't smell as clean as a normal, you know, facility.
I got what you're saying,
there's some of those
family
things.
show, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, and I just, you know, porta potties, although they're much better than they used to be, still I feel like going into a regular bathroom is more sanitary. And maybe it's not. Maybe I'm wrong. But it feels that way.
Okay.
So that's my perception. And so some of these things, like we've said all along, some of them seem a little, you know, arbitrary or less than logical. So, but they did accommodate us, and they did the best with what they were allowed to do. And so the halftime stuff, like going there, getting dressed, you know, we're kind of in a locker room. You can put in your headphones, and we have the kids do that, and they can kind of, you know,
get where they want to be.
Outside, there's a million things going on, and there's music, and it's not their music, so and you know, kids are picking up footballs, and like I don't like, you know, before the game everybody's screwing around and throwing footballs, and you know, when they're not in drills.
Gotcha.
And then, you know, when we go back to the locker room essentially, and then it's more of the same. So And halftime was actually even worse because Boyertown left, and they had a little grass area they were going to outside the stadium, and we were kind of stuck where we were. And there's just so many, it was really, crowd control was really hard within the context of the team. And, kids have energy, and so not making excuses, but that's the reality of it. So.
All right, let's talk defense here because I'm sure the defense wants to talk.
Yeah.
We talked assignment football last week. Give a grade, and what's your grade of the team on assignment football?
I'll shout out a couple people.
Yeah.
When, in this situation where you have a team that runs midline veer type read stuff, you need 3 players to play really well, and you should be okay. Both defensive ends and your middle linebacker. And we learned a lot about a couple kids. We already knew one end, Josh Hellauer. We know what he can do. He's been around long enough, and he's a really smart kid, and you tell him one time, and it's done. Yeah. Nasir Cook is back out for football. I keep telling kids, you lose that year, it really hurts you, whether it's your sophomore or junior year, it really hurts you. But he played really well on Friday night. We wish had he played, he might be 20 pounds more, which would really help him, but he played really well. I can think of one time where he kind of got outside of his assignment. But other than that, he played well. And then we're always good. And, I'm pointing out guys that we learned something about. We know about Donnie Nicoline. We know about DJ Francis, who played very well. And then the other one that we really learned was Ryan Horvath, who is our Mike linebacker. And I haven't seen a linebacker feel like that believe it or not, we've had some really good linebackers. But had he not gotten hurt last year, he would have been on the field. The way he played Friday night, we're really excited about having him for the rest of this year and next because he just pursues like crazy, and he kind of sold out. He's not, we want him eventually to put on a little weight, but he's doing it now without he's fine, but it would help him 15, 20 pounds, but he really filled well. Yeah, and it's like an odd thing you're talking about because that middle of your defense is kind of sometimes where you see size. You get those big defensive tackles, those Mike Singletary middle linebackers or whatever. But we haven't had that guy.
That's not you're not the. You wouldn't say big in the middle, but you're persistent up the middle, I'd say, too. We've never been that way, and I don't know what it is at Springford, but we've never really had – I'm trying to think of the last time we really had a quote-unquote full-size defensive tackle. We've been undersized for a long – even when we had – we played Robbie Varner there, who was – he was a beast, but he was 215, 220 pounds. Same with Mason Romano, who then eventually moved out to defensive end. But we've not really had, we haven't had the 270-pound defensive tackle type guy. So all right, let's take a look at the defense highlights for Springford Boyertown.
Gridiron highlights are sponsored by Heaps Landscaping.
So they run this little waggle pass, and you'll see pursuing here, you're going to see the guy, 3 of the guys I just talked about. Watch Ryan Horvath just pursue and then just sprint right there and make the play. And then, of course, you see DJ Francis and Donnie Nicoline, who are always around. Here's another play. Guess who it is? Ryan Horvath. Watch him right in the middle above the quarterback there. He sees it. The great thing is he sees the pull and takes off
and
after.
Goes right in, underneath.
Tremendous play.
Looks like they're trying to run some wildcat here too.
Yeah, this was the 4th down play.
Okay.
This was the fake punt, and on the edge there, you see Naftali Stein, who wasn't fooled for a second, and I think the other guy, it might have been Josh Progine, but.
Now you worried about the late alignment there they're trying to get to here.
Yeah,
this is your turnover.
Yeah, that probably is a situation where they might have been tackle over there, but this is a fumble. They fumble inside their own 5, and we come up with it. And, obviously that's a huge play. Here's this tight formation that they run, and they're going to run some form of midline. This was a 4th down play, so we stopped them and took over the ball there. You see Mason Brill right over top of the hole. You see Nick Teets pointing to the hole, by the way.
Yeah.
And there you go. You have Nasir Cook who makes that play, and that was just a great job by him. And this is the punt block. Josh Pergine blocks the punt, and really happy for Cameron Goldsmith. You'll see it on the end zone copy here if you want to see it. You see Josh block it, and then Cam Goldsmith picks it up and
flips in.
Yeah.
Flag
yeah.
They got you. They got you.
Here's the thing, and I said this to Cam. I'm wearing a mask, which helps. Sometimes the mask actually, I don't like it, but sometimes it helps you because I said, Cam, don't ever do that again. You can't see it, but I'm smiling underneath this. That was not done out of malice.
Yeah. Excitement.
I know who Cam is, and Cam was so excited to get in the end zone. And I think his emotions or his enthusiasm got the best of him there. If that had been some other kids, that had been in the, like, I'll just use Nick Teets as an example. If Nick Teets would do that, I'd be upset with them.
Yeah.
Because Nick Teets has scored touchdowns before. He doesn't need to do that. Cam, that was his first, and he was
good flip too. Pretty good. Maybe he was a gymnast.
We
at some
paid
point
for it, and he will pay for it today at practice. By the way,
All
there's
right.
still a punishment for losing.
Yeah.
There are repercussions for losing your head in that situation, but I knew it came from a good heart, not meant to embarrass Boyertown.
Gotcha. All right, Coach. Good stuff right there. On the week 3 here. All right.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to preview the game with Upper Perk after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Gridiron. I'm your host, John Brown, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker. All right, Coach, let's preview Upper Perk, the Indians. They're coming here Friday night. Like you said, it's going to be senior night here. Played PV tough for a half last week. It's 14-0. PV was opening their new turf, new field, and everything like that. And they had a close one with Methacton in week 1. So they've had some glimmers of they're in these games, they're ready to go right here. And once again, it can't be some of that old this is the old Upper Perk. This is a talented football team.
Yeah, they what it comes down to for them, they do have some good players, and they have some tough players. We really like their quarterback. There you have a good running back, a good receiver, but those guys also are all playing both sides of the ball. So their roster size isn't as big, and clearly, that's what Coach Hans was concerned about when he found out they were the only ones initially in. But they have a talented football team. I think if I was Coach Hans, I'd be really disappointed that the Frontier Division, 5 of the teams initially opted out, and because I think he had a real chance to win that division.
Yeah.
He has as good a chance as anybody. I know Upper Marion's very good, and Coach Brown was excited to come back. They're coming back.
Grove always kind of seems to be that other team.
Right. So ultimately,
it's the hand he's down. This is what they're going with there. And
listen, they're not going to back down, and they have some good play. Like I saw, and I don't know their names. I can pull a couple numbers, and when I watch film, I kind of look for. I'm the overall guy. We divide up on both sides of the ball. We divide up our responsibilities. So offensively, I'm the overview guy. Coach Strickler's the run game guy, Coach Rodenbaugh, who's the in the box personnel guy.
Gotcha.
Coach Algio's the secondary guy, and Coach Hartraft, who's our quarterbacks coach, he's the blitz guy. So he's like the hot read guy. So we kind of divide up by what we should be paying attention to.
Yeah.
So Coach Hartraft has to communicate that to the quarterbacks, like, hey, on 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 4 or higher on X percent of plays, this is what they did, and communicate that to the court. So be aware. Obviously, Coach Algio, coaching the wide receivers, wants to know
what type of coverage they'd like to run.
Not only what type of coverage, but this kid's better at this kid's better at that. And then, like I said, Coach Rodenbaugh, Coach Strickler are kind of combining on the in-the-box guys. So here's what I was going to say. Early in the game, number 53 from Upper Perk, PV runs outside zone, and 53 is a pretty big kid. And he sheds a block, and makes a play on outside zone. And I'm like, that's a heck of a play. Now, the problem with it is, in the NFL, they rotate, the Eagles rotate more on the defensive line.
They're playing the same 4 all game long.
Unfortunately, that kid, there's no way for that kid to, if he was in the greatest shape in the world, he wouldn't be able to do that for 48 minutes.
Gotcha.
But it was a heck of a play.
Yeah.
So you see they have it in them, and they are tough kids. They're not going to back down.
Yeah, I'm sure they're running a system. They're going to do what they do. They're going to do it well to the best of their ability.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at Upper Perk on offense.
They put together some nice plays. Here's a drop back. They ran a hitch and go on the PV corner and completed it. A nice route. The kid bought it, and unfortunately they struggled to get it across the end line. Here's a little inside trap. And again, down the sideline, they had some big plays in 20-20, but struggled to get it across. They do a nice job. We love this quarterback. He's a tough kid. He makes plays. He's never gonna lose games for you. He's going to just keep being scrappy and make plays. They love to run counter Trey. They like to run counter boot off that. And they do a good job of running I formation football, and certainly that's not something we see a ton of.
Okay.
In our league, most teams are spread one back, or in our division, I should say, most teams are spread one back, and they do a good job of it. So.
All right, we're going to see defensively from Upper Perk.
So they're a 4-3 base team. Play a lot of cover. Well, they play shell look, which basically means their corners, they have 2 high safeties, it's nice, normally for us, and this was a problem for us, normally we start off the year with an even front team and kind of build off of that. This year was flip-flopped, and we had an odd front team to start, and then going to an even front team. We were making a lot of mistakes in practice last week because of where if the linebackers are shifted to a certain direction, shifted to the play or more of a 4-3 look. So that was a learning curve. So normally we have that all taken care of by the time we get to game 1, and it's kind of flip-flopped this year. So that throws, we keep getting these wrenches thrown in between our spokes. So.
And those watching, like you said, the guys you're seeing offense making plays, they're going to be out there making defensive plays for them too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's take a look at Upper Perk on defense.
Here's this outside zone play look at that play. I wish that we could replay that. That was just that was a beautiful, beautiful play. So, PV tried to run the ball a little bit more and was going some, pistol eye here. You see a lot of it. Here's another outside zone play, and look who it is. It's 53 again. He had some help that time, but he's a good football player. And there they go trying to run outside. I think that they, there's some times here where they held the ball a little long in the passing game. PV, and I'm not sure, I don't know if that was something that, to me it seemed like there were guys that, they could have thrown to at the time or whatever, but Upper Perk, to their credit, they hung in there, for a good half.
Yeah.
And, if they had just cracked that end zone line one time in the first half, it,
makes you
could have
think
been
a little differently the game too.
Could have been interesting, yeah.
All right, Coach. Well, best of luck to you and the crew on Friday night.
Appreciate that.
All right, make sure you tune in next week to the Gridiron as we recap the game with Upper Perk Yeoman. For the head coach, Chad Brubaker, I'm John Brennan. See you next time on the Gridiron.